Hi, I'm Maddie.
And I'm Maya.
Welcome to the final episode of our Out of Programme podcast series. Throughout this series, we've heard from registrars on a variety of different out-of-programme experiences and have hopefully given you a taste for opportunities out there.
This week, we're focusing on one of the more popular options, IBD fellowships. So we'd like to welcome Anish. Anish, thank you for joining us. Could you start by telling us a little bit more about yourself and your role?
Yeah, so currently I am working at Northern Care Alliance NHS Trust, and this is at Manchester. I work as an advanced IBD fellow under Professor Limdi. I'm also in my ST6 year, and it has been around 6 months since I've started this fellowship, and I'm truly enjoying this experience.
And what made you apply for the IBD fellowship?
So I think with the current challenges with the training pathways and getting the right balance between general internal medicine and my gastroenterology training, I felt that although I could achieve general gastroenterology competence, I felt I would be still far away from becoming an IBDologist, which I truly wanted to become. Gastroenterology is a specialty with a large number of subspecialisms, and although the traditional training pathways have only highlighted hepatology, IBD is gaining quite the momentum with the need for additional experience. So that's why I decided to go out of program to do this fellowship.
So how did you come across this fellowship? Was it something you actively sought out, or did it develop more naturally through your training?
So I have worked with Professor Limdi before when I was doing my master's in clinical research. And that's exactly when I decided I wanted to do IBD as my career choice. And this was prior to even getting into starting my formal ST3 training. So at that time, Professor Limdi already had a fellowship running in, and I had seen the experience of the fellows. And I decided, yes, this is close to home, and the experience was fantastic, and there was a lot of learning opportunities, even though I wasn't a fellow then, and I was just a clinical research fellow at that time. So that's why I knew I always wanted to apply for this post when I reached a bit more further in my training grade.
Can you talk us through the application process and how competitive these fellowships tend to be?
So it is quite an extensive process, especially I think there are few recognized fellowships in the country, and you can look through it on the BSG sites. I think from when I was applying, I did look through, and there were, I think, 4 IBD fellowships that were recognized by BSG, this fellowship being one of them. So every year, people do apply, and I think they shortlist about 3 to 4 candidates, and then it goes through an interview process. In my case, I had won the clinical director of gastroenterology, Professor Limdi, who would be my supervisor. And since my post was part funded by the Research and Innovation department, we had the director of research also being part of the interview panel. So it was all about going through your resume and what you've done so far and what you want to achieve through this fellowship. So yeah, I think it is not a one-day process. It's what you have built through your years of training and how you have shown your dedication or your passion towards becoming an IBDologist or whatever you're applying your fellowship for.
So Anish mentioned that BSG endorse fellowships and how these can be found on the BSG website. A BSG endorsed fellowship offers standardised, quality-assured training with national recognition, whereas a non-endorsed fellowship can still be valuable but relies more on the reputation of the unit and the competencies gained.
Sounds like it was a really competitive process, and you've done amazingly to get this post. Looking back, what aspects of your CV or experience do you think were particularly important in securing the fellowship?
So I think, again, this is going back to me understanding that I wanted to do IBD as my subspecialty quite early in my career. This enabled me to focus on developing my portfolio, focusing on IBD while achieving the other general gastroenterology competence. I've also, my clinical master's in clinical research helped me get through and develop my portfolio, giving me a general idea on how to do research, critical appraisal, developing a research proposal, and general statistics. I think these help me, especially since this post involved 50% research. This did bring out my resume probably more than others, which I'd like to think. I'm not sure who the other candidates were, but I think probably these are the areas that helped me get the fellowship.
Could you tell us a bit more about the research aspect of your fellowship?
So, with this fellowship, I get 2 days a week to focus on both investigator-led research, which Prof. Limdi and I would come up and create a protocol for, probably apply for a grant or funding, and then go on with collecting the data and collaborate with other centers, and eventually lead to presentations or publications. There is a part of this which I'm fortunate to have access in this post, is the access to a clinical trials unit. We've got one of the largest clinical trial units in the country for inflammatory bowel disease, with more than about 20 commercial studies, about 2022 studies going actively. This gives me more experience on what a clinical trial looks like and how to recruit patients, the ethics that it involves, and you would have to undertake a specific course for before you start most enroll as a sub-investigator for most studies like GMC, good clinical practice, a lot of background reading, and there is actually a whole list of training log for each study before you get clearance to be on the as a sub-investigator. So you do learn a lot from being a part of clinical trials as well, apart from, again, having access to certain medications that patients at other centers would not normally have access to, as it's probably not yet licensed in the UK.
We can see you clearly love the research aspect of the role. Did you consider doing a master's or a PhD instead of this fellowship program?
I did do an MD before getting into ST3 training, and I've also done a master's in clinical research before getting into training. So I already had 2 masters before I got into training. So then the next option for me was to do either a PhD, and I felt that I did spend 3 years prior to getting into training, and I did want to take that time off again. But this fellowship also had the opportunity to convert this year of training, if I'm required to, as an MPhil. So I could still convert it into research year if I wanted to. So that option is still available, that I can, if I wanted to, with Manchester University. But right now, I've not yet decided if I want to take that route yet.
Okay, would that extend your fellowship year to 2 years? Or
yes,
would it just get rid of the clinical component?
It would get extended to another year.
So what does the other 50% of your work look like on the other 3 days of the week?
So the other 3 days, I do have, I do 2 clinics. I've got 2 endoscopy lists, and I've got IBD, MDT, and also we have organized something called a virtual biologic clinic, which looks at optimizing patients on advanced therapy through proactive drug monitoring. I also do a session of outreach covering referrals. This helps me keep in touch with general gastroenterology, and as well as other aspects of gastroenterology, such as hepatology, which I normally do not have access to, as my clinics and endoscopy are purely focused on IBD patients and IBD surveillance and IBD assessments.
On paper, this sounds like a Monday to Friday type role. How does this translate in reality, particularly with the research commitments?
Yes, it's a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 job on paper. But like I said, with research, I can get more of my writing done on a Saturday evening when I'm relaxed. On a Friday, I might spend all the time, but I'm unable to get that work done in that. You've been allotted Friday to write papers, but it just, your mind doesn't work that way, especially with creative writing. Professor Limdi always kind of puts an analogy on how writing a research paper or a publication is. It's more like a HIT training, where your mind is so focused and it takes a huge toll on your, I think, mental strength to write something down. And it's the ultimate form of both mind and hand coordination to pen down and articulate your thoughts in the best possible way. And you probably cannot achieve that level of concentration for more than 3.5 hours at a stretch. So sometimes you take it in parts, and having a clear target or a deadline that I want to finish within this time frame keeps you more focused. So yes, it is a 9 to 5 job, but it's a quite depending on how much you want to get involved in research and how much you want to focus on clinical. I want to do both. So it puts your dedication into it. And for me, it's like if you would want to pick up a book and read. For me, it's writing a paper would be just it's like a hobby for me, and it's my passion. So I do not think it as work, but rather my passion. So
yeah, I mean, I suppose if something's requiring such hard work, that's a really positive way to look at it, because it is going to seep into all of your time, isn't it? Weekends, evenings, nights, everything.
So again, it's very flexible. You can decide on how you want to do it. You put your own deadlines based on realistic goals. Without deadlines, you just will not reach your targets. And I've always liked to keep targets. So
it sounds like it is a really nice balance of work. Are there any on-call commitments as part of the fellowship? And how has stepping away from the acute GI work affected your training? Is there the opportunity to join the GI bleed rota?
So no, unfortunately, I don't think my trust has a bleed rota for registrars yet. So the regular in-training registrars also do not have access to out-of-hours bleed rota yet. So unfortunately, I do not have access to that at this point. However, it did help me that I was already signed off for endoscopy prior to joining the fellowship. So I didn't have to worry about not reaching that competence when I finish this year. However, there is also a worry that I might get de-skilled in upper GI endoscopy because I do not do that very often now. But that's again why one of the reasons why I decided to undertake this fellowship at ST6 year, because I also would have an ST7 year to catch up on all those areas where I would have got deconditioned in. There are options for post-CCT fellowships, but I would miss that 1 year of training after finishing that fellowship. So that's one of the reasons, again, I decided to do it at this point at ST6 year.
We've also heard from a few others that timing is such a big decision with fellowships. What was it about being in ST6 that made this feel like the right time to step out of your training?
So again, the other decision was right now with the change in competency and change in curriculum training, ST7 year tends to have a larger part of GIM involved. You're mandated with multiple requirements, particularly in ST7 year. So, I mean, if I would have to undertake my fellowship in an ST7 year, I would run behind my GIM training, and I have to do additional GIM time.
Which no one wants.
That's not ideal, really, is it?
Yeah, nobody wants. I think it has its place, but I think with gastroenterology being very vast, it's very difficult to achieve all competencies, including endoscopy, get your area of interest, develop your portfolio too. Obviously, most people don't want to be a general gastroenterologist and want to have expertise in some area. But I don't think the current training as such allows for this. And that's why these fellowships are quite important.
Thank you so much for explaining that. Do you have any particular advice for someone thinking about doing an IBD fellowship?
I think an advice is first is once you need to identify an area that you're truly passionate about. So the earlier I feel you identify that area of interest, you need not be in an ST3 level or ST4 level, or even before, or you can be in ST4, ST5. But the sooner you identify your area of interest, you can start working towards developing that area and developing your portfolio and your CV to reflect your passion or your commitment towards that. It gets challenging because you will have to side by side maintain your GIM and your gastroenterology portfolio But the sooner you identify, the better it is. I was fortunate that I understood that I realized my passion for IBD when I was doing my master's, and that was prior to training. So I was the last cohort to have an ST3 year. So when I started in ST3, I had a clear goal that I wanted to become an IBDologist at ST3. So I could always focus my research or my time towards IBD while on the side maintaining my general gastroenterology and hepatology competencies. And the other advice I would suggest is if during fellowship, I think one major aspect, especially if you have a job plan like mine, you do not have out of hours on-call commitments. This does significantly impact your pay, take-home pay. So having endoscopy competence sign off prior to doing your fellowship helps you to additional supplement your income with waiting list endoscopies and locum shifts. So these are ways you can supplement your income, especially since you do not have any regular on-call shifts. You're quite flexible with picking shifts up.
We've heard from a few other registrars that a fellowship has had quite an impact on their pay. Has this been a challenge for you? And actually, are there any other challenges that you've encountered at all?
So I think, yes, one challenge is, yes, you have to plan, especially if you have a family and kids, then you have to plan on how you're going to make that additional income to ensure it doesn't affect your quality of life and your current living standards. Secondly, taking some locum shifts not only for medicine as well, not only ensures that you maintain your pay, but also helps you keep in touch with general medicine once a while. Because I think if you have to go back into ST7 year, when you join back as an ST7, you would be still expected to have idea of general medicine, and you tend to get de-skilled quite quickly if you have not kept in touch for that long. The other aspect is, one challenge which I do miss is I used to do inpatient and GI bleed endoscopies. So I do miss that, and I feel that once I get back, I may get deconditioned to that. So these are the challenges wherein when you are truly focused on one subspecialty only for a whole year, you can get de-skilled. But at the same time, the positive would be you will be truly amazed at what level of expertise you can develop just by having a singular point of focus as IBD. So I think that for me, I think I am willing to give up the downs to the ups, which is becoming a very competent IBDologist.
Thank you very much, Anish. This conversation really highlights that fellowships aren't just about gaining extra expertise, they're also about timing, planning, and understanding what you want from your future career.
Anish's experience shows how identifying your interests early, building a focused portfolio, and being realistic about the practicalities such as pay and skill maintenance can make stepping out of training a powerful and rewarding decision.
Whether or not a fellowship is right for you, the key takeaway is that these opportunities can shape not just what kind of consultant you become, but how confidently you step into that role.
Across this mini-series, we've explored a range of out-of-programme opportunities, from nutrition to IBD, hepatology, and even non-clinical experiences. What's clear is that there's no single right path through training.
We hope these conversations help you think more clearly about the options available and how to plan a training pathway that works for you.
And that's a wrap from us, our final podcast episode.
Thank you so much for listening. It's been really fun putting this series together.
Final thanks to all our inspirational guests and also our producer Brian for managing to hide our incessant awkwardness.
As always, like and subscribe.
See ya.
Bye.